It's over. It is completely over. They can't go back and look at that programme for government and renegotiate it. They need a completely new mandate. It is impossible for them to get it. And I'll give you another thing. Well, one thing about the Greens saying that we've achieved our objectives, and they talk about this Dublin mayor, I think that's a classic example. This is a joke. What they're doing with the Dublin mayor, and this, I really worry about them with regard to achieving their objectives. They've done their best so far, but it's like they set these targets and we'll tick them off. This Dublin mayor thing is rubbish. All they're going to do is have a popularity contest about who's going to be the mayor of Dublin among the people, with no powers, no restructuring, no nothing. So it's not done properly, and it's like everything else. And with regard to the jobs thing that she raised, I think it highlights the very, very issue. She's saying now, we have to look at jobs. Where have they been for 2 years? Do you know that unemployment has gone to 388,000?
Well, what would you do? If you were in government now, George Lee, what would you do to create jobs?
Karen, I will tell you that in a minute. But it's gone from 388,000 people, or up to that, and it's heading to 600,000. It was 150,000 last year. And they're saying, now we need to prioritise jobs. The writing was on the wall, and they were going around saying we must have a popularity contest for who'll be the mayor of Dublin. Give us a break. The problem is that the penny is dropping. They're completely caught out. There is no mandate for this government. They haven't got a clue what they're doing, and they can't address the issues which are there.
Well,
we need a general election.
Okay.
And what you know is I don't want to go traipsing the streets for another 3 or 4 or 5 weeks in the autumn. I think that's what I'm going to be doing. Don't know how I'm going to do it, but this is coming. These guys are finished. They're bunched. They have no ideas between them. They have no mandate, and the moral authority is gone. Nobody trusts them. They can't lead us. We're in an awful bind. Let's go.
George, sorry, if you want to talk about ideas, I mean, you're 10 days in this game, and 10 days on, I saw in yesterday's Irish Independent, you have pretty much decided to tear up the ideas you came into this with, and have announced that later in the week you'll be issuing new ideas.
I don't know what he's talking about at all.
Your 10-point plan.
Okay, let's assume, George Lee, because the mystery is what were you promised by Fine Gael in order to move into the political arena and give up a very good job out at RTE. You cannot return to RTE as an economics editor, as you know. Because
my job has just been advertised by RTE. My job is gone, yes.
Okay, so your job is gone. So you have taken a huge risk. Now, you're not doing that, George, to stay in the back benches for the next 4 or 5 years. Presumably, you're doing it on the basis that you will get a ministerial position, gambling on the fact that we will possibly have a general election within the next 12 months.
No, I haven't been doing it for that reason. I've been doing it because I've been motivated by what I think is a very, very important time in my lifetime. In my lifetime, in terms of my core abilities, which would be all economic, this is the biggest challenge the country has ever faced. And I look, and I lived, and I came out of school and so on in the 1980s, and I saw the destruction that unemployment does. I went to the London School of Economics, and I specialised in labour economics because of unemployment. I know where we're heading, and I know this government isn't capable of dealing with that. I've seen them in relation to the banks. They talk about fixing the banks and putting the burden on everybody's shoulders. Taxes here, taxes there, and burdens everywhere else. I'm not prepared to stand by and watch my kids and everybody else's kids take that burden on. We want to be free as people to go about and do about whatever it is we wish to do.
I appreciate that.
And that's what motivates me.
But what is the position you feel you need in order to instigate the kind of changes you feel will take us out of that mess?
Sure. The position I need is I need a mandate from the people of South Dublin to carry on doing what I'm doing.
What ministerial position do you want?
I don't want a ministerial position.
But you won't have power, George Lee, surely, unless you have a ministerial position. I mean, the backbenchers don't tend to have an awful lot of power. You'd have had more influence, surely, in your previous role as RT's economics editor.
I know people want to know what way I've been thinking about it and what it is that I want as my position. I haven't been. I decided this about 2 weeks ago at that long weekend, that I was going to do this because I feel motivated about the plight of people, and jobs. It's jobs that these guys, and we just heard it from Mary White. She's just twigged now. The government has just twigged now that there's a jobs crisis.
That's why you were critical earlier on of somebody being critical of the media. But can I just say, and I want to just be clear on this, I'm not levelling this against George, what I'm about to say.
Yes, sounds like he is already.
No, I'm not.
Once they apologise,
if you listen to me, which you don't tend to do all that often. I think one of the problems is, and actually is part of the crisis that we have in our political system at the moment, is that there is this concentration on this notion of what individual sacrifices people, whether it's George or me or anybody else, makes. it isn't about a personal sacrifice in that way, whether it's careers or otherwise. If you want to talk about that, well, maybe all three of us could talk about that as to what sacrifices we made and so on. It isn't about that at all. It's about what any one of the three of us wants to do and what policies we want to bring forward and how precisely we want to reorganise and be part of reshaping our country. That's what it's about. Now, it's a little, this notion of which political position or which ministerial position do you think you're going to get or do you want? Well, I would say there's nobody that goes into politics, or very few people that go into politics, who don't want to have a position in government and a position of influence. So I certainly say that if I had the opportunity... What
position would you like?
Well, I mean, personally, I think education is the most important area
Minister
for me.
For Education.
But the control of the public, the Department of Finance and decisions about money and decisions about finance. Of course, they're at the heart of our. Nothing tends to be that quick coming from George.
And
the fact is, it isn't about individuals.
Okay, hang on a second.
It's about what we want to give you a break.
Just for a second. The problem with this and the problem with Irish politics is that people who go into it, some people, seem to think it's about them and their position. It is not. It is about the people and the people's power that they lend to a politician and expect them to live up to it responsibly. I am only looking for the position of speaking up for the people, and after that I will have whatever influence that brings. Thank you very much.
Okay, it's 10 to 11. You're very welcome to continue sending me your calls and comments. We're getting a huge reaction. We'll take a quick break and I'll be back with you shortly.